Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about everyone's favourite term these days, gaslighting. It's definitely psychological term that's come to prominence, everyone's saying it these days, but to really outline exactly what it is, we're going to look at a clip from the ending of Orwell's 1984. This is the very, spoiler alert, you should watch the whole movie, but this is close to the end. So let's just take a look at this clip and we'll analyse what's going on here.
You know perfectly well what is the matter with you, Winston. You've known it for years, though you've fought against the knowledge. You are mentally deranged. You suffer from a defective memory. You've never tried to cure yourself of it because you did not choose to. It was a small effort of will which you were not ready to make. For example, which power is Oceania at war with?
Eastasia. Oceania is at war with Eastasia.
Eastasia. Good. And Oceania has always been at war with Eastasia, has it not? Tell me what you think you remember.
I'll just interject here. This is one of the themes in the movie where, the information filters down from the power structure and says, we're at war with Eastasia. Oh, now we're at war with Oceania. And they go, well, last week weren't we at war with Eastasia or whatever it is? And they're like, no, all the people are zombies, and, turn around and say, no, you're mistaken. You don't remember properly. We've always been at war with whoever at the moment. So it's this kind of like rewriting history to make you feel like your memories are false. And that you don't really have a grip on reality, and the reality is being written for you. Your memories are being rewritten for you from the power structure.
I remember that until only a week before I was arrested, we weren't at war with Eastasia at all. It was Eurasia. It lasted 4 years, I think.
Another example. A serious delusion. Photographs about which you've had hallucinations, which you believed you held in your hand. They never existed. Say what you're about to say, Winston.
They exist in memory. I remember. You remember.
I do not remember. Only the disciplined mind can see reality, Winston. It needs an act of self-destruction, an effort of the will. Do you remember writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say 2 + 2 = 4? How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says there are not 4, but 5, then how many?
5.
No. That's no use. You're lying. How many fingers, please?
4. What else can I say? 5, 4. Anything you like. Only please stop it. Stop the pain. How can I help it? How can I help what I see under my eyes? 2 and 2 makes 4.
Sometimes, Winston. Sometimes they're 5. Sometimes they're 3. Sometimes they're all of them at once. Neither the past nor the present exists in its own right, Winston. Reality is in the human mind, not in the individual mind, which makes mistakes and soon perishes, but in the mind of the party.
Right. So what's going on here with all these three instances, the first thing is Winston questions the propaganda of the party, who they're at war with. Then the bad guy here holds up photos of people that Winston clearly has memories of, and he burns the photos and says, well, they didn't exist. And Winston insists they existed in his memory. He's like, yeah, but the evidence is gone, and he's shaping Winston's reality. That's the whole point. And the thing about the fingers, I'll admit when I first saw this movie years ago, I didn't quite get it, but I think I have it figured out now. And this is exactly what gaslighting is shaping someone's perception of reality so that you can have control over them. That's exactly what it is. Now, to have this make sense in the larger sort of context, just maybe think about if you wanted to accomplish some goal, like growing crops in a field. Do you have any concept of how complicated a machinery, how complicated a computer and robot system would have to be to go and plant and cultivate and harvest crops in a field and give you the produce? We don't have the technology currently to make robots that sophisticated that could go and solve every problem involved in, we can't just, there's no robot or technology we have now that we can give a field and some seeds and, some raw materials and say, go and get me a harvest. The only thing that can do that for you is human beings. And so it gets back to this idea, which Stefan Molyneux has talked about quite a lot, and that is that owning human beings and extracting their productivity is one of the most profitable things you can do. Human beings are highly productive. And so, but to have them produce for you and to have them have enough agency so that they can go and work effectively and solve enough problems to, say, go and plow a field for you, you need a human level of intelligence to do that, but you need to stop their agency. You need to stop the level of autonomy and free thinking that they have at the point at which they start questioning why they would work for you, basically. So you need more than just a machine. You need an automaton. You need a person and their problem solving capabilities of the human brain, but you don't want them to have enough autonomy that they start questioning why that system would exist, or why they wouldn't just have their own, keep their own productivity, that sort of thing. And so when you start looking at bending people to the will of power, that's what this represents with the fingers. It's the gaslighting here is highlighting the idea that you can plant a mind virus into someone, in this case through torture or propaganda, brainwashing, social conformity, all those things, but you're planting a mind virus within somebody so that you can control them completely. Kind of like, the sci-fi movies are like a slug crawls in your ear and then the slug takes over the human, in a sense. This brainwashing of like, oh, how many fingers am I holding up? The bad guy doesn't want to know. I can't actually remember his name at the moment, but he doesn't want to know just that you're saying whatever he wants because you're in pain. He wants to know that your mind is broken so that you can be easily led and you will say whatever he wants you to say. That's the whole point of that. This is gaslighting in the true sense, is severing someone's connection to reality for the purpose of controlling them. Now let's tie that to the modern world a little bit. These days, we'll get rid of 1984 here. These days, people will tell you that this is a woman. Now, I don't know about you, but every part of my rational faculties is telling me that's not a woman. That's a guy. In terms of trans people, I'm open to the fact that some people are genuinely extremely confused. You know, maybe 1% of people are just genuinely genetic misfits in a sense. You know, they're the ones that don't fit in. They're an unfortunate accident of, you know, random genetic variants or something like that. But, you know, as I saw in a post by Jordan Peterson today, in the future we will look back and realize that the vast majority of all this sort of stuff with these transgender people, it's all just self-serving narcissism. And, you know, they're jumping on a social fad for their own benefit and aggrandizement and that sort of thing. And it's definitely true. It attracts people who are fairly low status, and they get this sense of, you know, status through victimhood as well when they come out as trans or whatever. But the interesting thing, let's have a look at this one. The interesting thing though is not why this person's doing it. The interesting thing is, why is the power structure pushing this? Because I made the point in another video and on Facebook recently, you know, say we look at pop music, and we all know pop music is mass-produced, lowest common denominator sort of stuff. But, you know, the revelation that I had was, well, why do we think any other industry is any different? You know, education, science, all the institutions, you know, what filters down to the mainstream is the McDonald's of whatever it is. You know, it's just lowest common denominator crap with the sole purpose of funneling profits back to the institutions. And so the real question is not why do we have some random weirdo who obviously looks like a man in his 40s, an overweight man in his 40s. I mean, if you go back to this photo, you even look around the love handles and the belly, like, he's clearly very fat, but the way in which he's fat looks like a man as well, you know, with the male belly and love handles, not the female. You know, a lot of women, even though they can get whole weight around there too, it's just very stereotypically male to have that shape of belly and love handles. You know, a lot of women, it's on their hips and their legs and their butt and whatever. But especially in this photo, like, it's a man, baby. You know, and so the question isn't why is there some random weirdo guy. I mean, it's pretty obvious he's going to get status. He's just competed at the Olympics, that sort of thing. I wonder if I'll get kicked off YouTube for saying he. Probably. Catch me on BitChute and Odyssey, because this would probably get banned. But the point is, why is the power structure pushing this? And let's have another look at one more image here. This is a little slide of what's being taught at local schools in my area at the moment. You know, trans men are real men, trans women are real women. Your pronouns are valid and deserve to be respected. And so what they're doing is, this is the equivalent of the school holding up 4 fingers and they're telling the kids that it's 5. This is, no matter what your rational faculties say, if you're looking at a guy who looks like a guy but he says he's a girl, he's a girl. It's exactly like in 1984, you know, like I said, holding up 4 fingers, and then Winston says, well, it's 4. I can see it clearly. That's with my rational faculties. I can see you holding up 4 fingers. And he gets tortured and said, no, that's the wrong answer. It's whatever I say it is. It's whatever the party says it is. And so that's what's happening now with children and with, you know, this kind of thing, is you're seeing what looks like a male, but the power structure is telling you it's a female. And so and you have to act as if it's a female. And so the relevance to 1984 is that is in the truest sense of the word, gaslighting. It is putting a virus in your mind so that you can stay productive enough to produce. You can be the effective tax cattle. You have enough rational faculty to keep solving problems in your job, to keep working and producing, because we don't have the technology now to create robots that would solve problems and produce like a human can. We just don't have that. You know, I wonder how these things will change if we ever do get to that stage. But I mean, like I said before, the level of programming and robotics needed to craft an automaton that could do what a human does, we're nowhere near having that. So the most profitable thing is to let humans produce, but to hobble their awareness, hobble their agency at the point at which they would question why they're handing over their productivity to you. You know, they start questioning why they're not free, or that sort of thing. And so I think, you know, this transgender thing being pushed by the power structures, it's one of many examples in the modern world where we are encouraged to reject the evidence of our senses, to reject the clear reality as presented to our minds by our rational faculties. And I would venture to say that this is, in the truest sense of the word, gaslighting for the purpose of controlling your mind, or at least limiting your agency. Like I said, so you can produce, you have enough agency to produce, but not enough agency to question. And as always, I think the more we can understand the game that's being played, the more we can inoculate our minds against it. I'm not saying that you should actively, you know, go up to a trans person and start arguing with them. It depends on the context, to be honest, but just know in your mind, in your heart of hearts, in your mind, that these people in situations like this are being pushed into your awareness. They're pushed onto your TVs, into your media, and into your schools, I believe, for the main purpose of divorcing you from your rational faculties. And so don't let them do it. Don't cave in. And whether you speak up about it or not, just in your heart of hearts, just know someone's attempting to manipulate you. They're attempting to massage your perception of reality. They're trying to limit your ability to accurately perceive and make sense of the world. And that is because they want power over you.